All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm excited. We have our first Zoom conversation for the bench, and joining me is Tami Door,
And
and
Tammy
Tami
is
is
the
the former president and CEO of Downtown Denver Partnership Inc., which I have to confess I don't know a lot about. So I'm really interested to hear and to learn more about it. So Tami, welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Hi, it's great to be here. I think this is such a great thing that you're doing. I have to start out by saying I respect the Denver Rescue Mission so much. You have just been a brilliant partner in the community. And so I think this is great that you're having these conversations.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I think, in the
And the
conversations that
conversations
we've
that we've had so far, they've been really impactful. And I'm not sure how I'm going to be 20 hours in, but right now we're doing well. And I'm just so excited for you to sit with us. And I wonder if you could just start by telling us all a little bit about Downtown Denver Partnership.
Certainly. So the Downtown Denver Partnership is committed to developing a strong and vibrant center city in Denver, not just for the benefit of Denver, but for the benefit of the region and the benefit of the state. So they work on everything from public policy to infrastructure improvements to the care and maintenance of the center city. I spent, 16 plus years there at the partnership, but I've also worked with downtown organizations in many capacities in the United States and internationally. So some of the challenges that we see in our urban environment are definitely not unique to our community. And certainly, as you all know, homelessness falls into that category.
Yeah, it really does. And, with your work here, I know that during the pandemic, you were really, in many ways, at the leading edge of our response to that. So, what do you think? Either you or your colleagues or even our community learned or should have learned through the COVID pandemic?
Well, first and foremost, whether it's around homelessness or the pandemic or any other critical civic issue, the public sector, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector must be able to come together to collaborate, strategize, solve, evolve. And frankly, you can't create those relationships in the middle of crisis.
right.
So,
Right.
one thing that we learned that we were doing right is that we were building strong relationships throughout the community. And we were able to leverage that during COVID. Now, that doesn't mean to say that every group or every civic organization all agreed on everything. What it did mean is that there was a level of trust, there was a level of relationship building. We had worked together on things, we knew each other, um, and we supported the bigger picture. And because we had that in place before the pandemic, we were able to move really quickly in terms of addressing all aspects that we faced as a community during that time.
Yeah, that's really amazing because there were communities that did better at adapting to and addressing the pandemic than I think some other communities in our country and in our really in our world. And I wasn't here at the time, but as I sort of was watching Denver in its response, I think there's a lot to be proud of.
There's a tremendous amount to be proud of in the sense that we were able to quickly navigate all of the different networks and relationships and tap into who could provide what service, support, expertise, resource. And it's one thing to live in a great community where people want to do all of those things. It's another thing completely to be able to activate those networks. And because we had relationships, because we'd built networks prior, we were able to move quickly and actually have a lot more impact.
Yeah, I think you're right. You were able to spring from a foundation that was already there that was really solid, which has probably made a huge difference. I know at the partnership you were involved in public and private partnerships that included raising money for shelter expansions. During your 17 years there, what's the most crucial lesson that you learned about bringing people together for a common cause and mobilizing people?
Well, I mean, to start with, there's a lot of varying views around the causes of homelessness,
Right.
Right.
the the solutions to homelessness, what constitutes a solution, if there can be a permanent solution, or if it's just an ongoing journey. I mean, those differences weigh pretty deep in terms of everybody's different values around
Right.
that.
Right.
Um, but I do believe at the core, what we had to respect and learn to respect is that whatever people's reasons were for wanting to end homelessness or solve for homelessness, we shouldn't spend time worrying about the why. We spent a lot of time worrying about where somebody's motives were coming from. Why would they want to solve the problem? Why did they care about certain policies? Or but the reality is in the end it doesn't matter. If the goal or the outcome could be achieved without different moral judgments on people's reasons, I think that we could do much better as a community. I think that gets far in the way. So, number one, learning that during the process of raising money and as more money needs to be raised over time, that's the first thing, is understand that people are going to come to it for different reasons, and that's
Hmm.
okay. Secondly, I do believe that I learned throughout all of my years working in that arena is that there is a tremendous amount of inefficiency and overlap. This is not a reflection of anybody's commitment or caring or, you know, even doing a great job, whether it's in their organization, in the public sector, or in the private sector, nonprofit. What it does mean is that uh, there's a lot of overlap. And I do think that addressing that overlap isn't going to be the end all solution, but we have to have a serious conversation about how we're delivering services, um, how many different entities deliver those services. How do you consolidate at some level? Because um, you even just looking at the back end of organization,
Hmm.
Hmm.
you still have to fund your administrative support. So what I learned in all of that is that good intentions, good operators, but a lot of overlap, and that yields a lot of inefficiencies. And then I think that the final thing is that just measurables. It's hard to know if you have success if you can't even get clear on the measurables. And I do believe there is a lot of distrust around the numbers. They come from a lot
Hmm.
of different sources, and and obviously they have a lot of different inputs in the different data collection processes. But I do think there's a lot of distrust about what those numbers really are, and addressing some of that would also help.
Wow, there was a lot there, and it was all great, which is why I love conversations on a bench. Your first point about people's motives, I agree with you so much. Denver Rescue Mission and many other service providers here and across the nation, our why is because of our faith. So, we believe our Christian faith calls us to feed the hungry and welcome in the stranger and help people leave homelessness. But that should never stop us from partnering with and collaborating with an organization or a person that has different reasons for doing this work, right? And I agree with you. If we tone down the rhetoric, maybe tone down the judgment and say, okay, some of our core motivations might be different, but what we rally around is that we all want to see homelessness solved or end or whatever that might be. I think that's when we can do our best work, and I think our best work is yet to come. So I really, really am grateful for your perspective on that.
I would just add one other point, and I know that you know this inside and out, but there are many, many ways that people land on the streets or
Right.
Right.
floating between friends and relatives or living in shelters or other assisted support types of housing. But we also can't be afraid or uncomfortable to say that there are real issues happening on the streets that are tied to homelessness, but not always a reflection of that. And sometimes we lump everything together, and that I think also causes some of the conflict and dispute in the community about what we're actually solving for. And when I'm talking about that, I am talking about the fact that you can mutually want to address homeless challenges and solve for them and still be really tough on some of the hardcore crime that we're finding in some of
Yeah.
the public spaces. And it's hard. It's hard for people sometimes to really want to effectively acknowledge that those things are, they can both exist at the same time, but you still have to address both of them.
Exactly. And I was actually just having this conversation with one of my children not too long ago. And it doesn't have to be either or, right? We want to build a community that's safe and welcoming for everyone. The person experiencing homelessness, that we want to leave homelessness, but also for the business owner, right? If you own a business downtown, you should be able to open and conduct your business in the manner that you want to and not have to close or have to move, and we want families to be able to go to parks and be safe playing in the park. And I couldn't agree with you more. Is it doesn't have to be this over here or way on the other side, or we don't have to, maybe a better way to say that, we don't have to prioritize one over the other. We should be working to make the community better for everyone.
And I think you did hit on something really important. There are a number of people that are experiencing homelessness that are living on the streets, and they are in danger. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they're in danger because of the elements and, they're not in a stable environment, but they're also in danger by other individuals that their criminal activity has gone far beyond, just survival. They're
That's right.
operating criminal in channels in
Mm-hmm.
that system, and it's very dangerous for people. And I think we have to really understand that point of it as well.
I think you're right. I think you're
I
right.
think you're right.
One of the things our staff encounters on a regular basis is people that are unhoused, experiencing homelessness, that are coming to an organization like ours for the right reasons. They want help, they want hope, and then there are other people that come to prey on them. They see an easy mark, for lack of a better term, and as a community, we have to stand up to that and say, no, that's not okay. And I think that we do a good job, but I think we could do a better job.
I do want to say that I've always felt, and I still feel, that the rescue mission has played a really good, um, played the role of a good stabilizing, balanced view and force in that arena. Understanding, really working to understand all sides of it and not being afraid to come out and say when behaviors or activities or any of that needs to be addressed in a different way. And I think that that's why you've been able to collaborate with so many different groups. You're also, I've never found the rescue mission to be afraid or uncomfortable with saying that either you want to change tactics or course, or recommending highly that somebody else does, but doing it through relationships and authenticity, it really matters. And that's why organizations like yours that operate the way that you do and that lead the way you do are going to be even more essential going forward in how we address this.
Yeah, I think you're right, and thank you for those really kind words as well. And I think everything we've talked about in this discussion so far, really the common thread has been relationships and what we can do together when we spend time to build those relationships and that trust. And one of your points earlier about duplication of efforts and inefficiencies, I think that's really an important point, and I think that intuitively our donors, not just Denver Rescue Mission donors, but people that give money to social services, they're asking for the same thing. And coming up in a couple of guest spots, Christina Carlson will be here from Urban Peak, and she and I meet regularly for lunch. And the last time we met, one of the things we talked about is Denver Rescue Mission should not try to become a youth shelter, because Urban Peak is doing an amazing job at that. Now, there are places that we can partner together because there is some overlap, and we should do that, but we shouldn't decide to compete with Urban Peak, because that doesn't help the community, and it doesn't help any organization, and most importantly, it doesn't help the people that we're trying to serve.
Yeah, I think you actually hit on something pretty important there. And the way that the two of you, as individuals and leaders, collaborate, but also the way that the two organizations collaborate.
Right.
And
Right.
I will say that they're going to be, in my view, ranked as peers to the way that they lead with Denver Mission, because they're highly respected. They definitely get things done, and I really appreciate that you guys have that kind of relationship. That's what's going to really help drive strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and I'm blessed because I've been here for almost 2 years, and Brad Miley, who was my predecessor, and was here for 25 years, he really and his team really did a great job at building those relationships. So whether it's Urban Peak or Colorado Coalition or Salvation Army or Catholic Charities, we've built a solid foundation in relationship, and that allows us to have those tough conversations that you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, I think that when we look as well at the environment, and I'll talk now about the environment in the public realm, the individuals that are experiencing homelessness, that are out there on the streets, the mental health issues and the addiction issues are significant. And for any family members out there that have dealt with that with a loved one or a friend, I have great empathy. And I know that they've probably tried everything that they can do to bring their, friend or loved one in off the streets, but
Yeah.
addiction and mental health are overwhelming. And I just do believe that we have got to find a way to really fund and address those two pretty critical issues in our country, because we can build great shelter systems and we can address issues around homelessness that are a result of financial hardship or loss of a job or an immediate health condition that somebody experiences. But these longer term issues of mental health and addiction are much more amorphous, and they're the root of so much of what the public sees and the
Yeah.
public has the greatest concerns about.
You're exactly right. And unfortunately, this time has flown by. So I'm being told that I need to wrap it up. But Tami, I guess I just want to say it's great to meet you. And I'm really grateful for our conversation. And I hope that this is the first of many conversations that we can have. I know I personally would love to talk more about ways that as a community we can do more and we can do better. So thank you for all you've done and all you continue to do for our community.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your time and for you and your team and everything that you do. It matters.
all right.
All right. Thanks, Tami. Bye.